remote. Stephen Peak will be joining us hour 2 because he is in Lexington covering Mark Pope, who I don't know if he's talking right now. If he is, maybe we'll play a little bit of Mark Pope. Who knows? I don't like it when we do that, but we may do it. We may do it anyways. Our producer today is producer Matt. Matt, what's up? How are you?
Nothing much. Nothing much. I'm good. Last night was the first night in the new place. You know, a little weird because my roommate doesn't move in for like another week, so it was just super quiet in there. It's always feels weird when you move into a new place and it's your first night there. The one thing that I am annoyed and stressed about right now is the like router and modem and stuff for the internet gets delivered today, which is fine. I leave just the cats this morning because, like I said, I live so close now that I don't have to stay here after that show. I can go home, eat lunch, and do whatever, which was nice. I got to go home. I was, like, unpacking some more stuff, setting up some stuff, and I was just waiting for it to arrive. I get a notification on my phone, oh, your delivery time is set. Well, it's set for 11:25 to 1:25, and it hasn't showed up yet. So I know, and when I was leaving the house, I passed the FedEx truck heading into, like, my area. So I know that thing's going to be sitting outside for like 2 hours, and I'm just praying to God somebody doesn't take it.
What are you waiting on?
Like the adapter and router and modem for my internet.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, you need that. That's for sure. So you got an empty house. Well, that's exciting though. There's some niceness to the peace and quiet.
Yeah, it was nice. Like I am like my room is like downstairs. And there's no windows or anything, so it's like pitch black in there, and I love it. It's silent, it's dark, it's like kind of cool down there. It was probably the best night of sleep I've gotten in a long time.
Well, good. Well, I'm happy to hear that. That's all good news. Producer Matt into his new digs in Jefferson County, which is exciting stuff. We've got a big show today, a lot to get to, but most importantly, because we've neglected it yesterday, we didn't do our best on it last week. If you send in the text messages in hour number 1, we're going to read them before Stephen Peak joins the show in hour number 2. I don't see anything about Mark Pope speaking right now. Now, he did have his coach's show last night. I made a couple notes from that. Some injury updates, which is weird. I'll talk about that. I listened to the Will Stein on 3 interview, which was exciting, to say the least. I took a couple notes from that as well. It was not a great night of college basketball, but the Kansas-Texas Tech game was really good. UNC was up 30 on Syracuse, and Syracuse, I think, got it to single digits, lost by 10 when it was all said and done. Matt, you may want to mute when you're not chatting.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're fine, buddy. Just could hear some of the typing. But that if you turned off the UNC game like I did and was a bit surprised to see Syracuse did make a bit of a comeback, but never really threatened. They were down by so much. As a UK fan, from a resume standpoint, you want UNC to keep winning, oddly enough. But they hold on. They get a win. That wasn't a good game. But Kansas, Texas Tech. Producer Matt, did you check out that game?
I got to watch a few pieces of it, but not all of it. I saw that Darren Peterson had a really rough second half, but that's all that I saw.
He had a really rough second half until he took over the game and won. He hadn't made a shot until, I don't know, like the final 4 minutes or 3 minutes of the half, and then hit the tying 3, the go-ahead 3, and Kansas completely stole that game from Texas Tech. They were down 9 at the under 6. I don't think it ever got worse than that, but I think they were down 7 at the under 4. And just last 2-3 minutes, they surged, got the go-ahead bucket. Texas Tech had a couple chances to tie at the horn and could not do it. So Kansas goes into Lubbock and gets a huge win. If you're Stephen Peak or you follow him on social media, you maybe have noticed his all-time win tracker. It would have been nice for Kansas to lose. That was a big win for them. But they're playing well. I still get this weird sense with Kansas that they're going to be an early exit. I don't know why. This is probably your sign to go ahead and pencil Kansas into your Final Four. But everything with Darren Peterson is a little strange. I don't bake this in necessarily into my prediction, but Bill Self's health I think is a factor as well. Not that I think that like, he's going to get sick or something's going to happen, but I just think there's been a bunch of distractions. And when push comes to shove and it's March and the lights are the brightest, I don't know, there's something screams early exit about Kansas to me. I'll probably forget about this in the next month and a half, so I won't take that advice into my own brackets, but make a mental note that maybe we won't have the Jayhawks going too far in our brackets. But that was a great win for them last night. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And Texas Tech not playing their best basketball as of late. But the slate is better tonight, which is exciting. Cats, their last Wednesday game tomorrow, and then it'll be all Tuesday, Saturday from then on out. Actually, after the game on Saturday against Tennessee, they don't play for a week. It's a week break then. But then after that, it's Tuesday, Saturday until the SEC tournament, which hopefully for Kentucky won't start until Friday. That's the goal. And they've put themselves in a pretty solid position halfway through the SEC slate to do just that. So a little all over the place to start the show. But yeah, that was a great game. It's Tuesday, producer Matt, which means you're a day closer to the Super Bowl. How you holding up?
I'm getting more excited each and every time.
Ooh, sorry, you got to unmute.
Forgot to unmute. Yeah. Sorry. I'm getting more excited each and every day. Like you said, it's kind of like setting in for me. Every time I go to sleep, I'm like, oh, we're getting closer and closer. Like, this was the last Sunday before the first Sunday of the Super Bowl. I'm really ready for the game. It's one where, I'm so happy about this season coming from only 4 wins last year that as much as I want them to win this game, it just feels good to be back in this situation again as a Patriots fan. Like I said, it was a grueling 6 years. I can't imagine any other fan base having to deal with such a long drought of not being a Super Bowl. It's got to really be bad. So I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But I am ready. I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you keep laying that on pretty thick. I don't think you're getting too many Patriot fans in the bandwagon with you. But that's fine. That's understandable. Drake May, he's feeling better. He's throwing. Everything's good there. So that's exciting. So, yeah, we're getting a bit closer. What are you doing for the game?
My girlfriend, her family always put on like a big potluck / Super Bowl party with like a bunch of friends and work friends and family. Like a bunch of people will show up. So we do that every year. So that's where I'll be at.
Oh, you're gonna have to eat the uncooked meat. Gross. That's tough. That's a tough break. What's it called again?
I don't remember. What?
It was that dip that you dip that's not cooked. It's like some Portuguese tradition or something like that.
No, they don't make that. They make like regular. Like I think this year they're having everybody that's coming bring something. So it's not like we're all cooking for everybody again this year. I do know what you're talking about. No, we're not eating that.
I say you have it over at your new place. Say, I've got a new place. Let's come break it in.
Yeah,
little housewarming
we
party.
can do that with the no couch and the no internet right now and just no nothing in that house. I think we should.
You want everybody on their feet anyways. It's standing only. It should be an electric game.
I thought about building like stadium seating in the living room, like couch behind couch, so that we can really pack that place every Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. And then when Bad Bunny comes on, everybody can just start breaking it down right then and there.
I think so. I think it's a great idea.
We're not. Okay, I truly don't think I knew about this, and if I did, I had forgotten about it. There is going to be a white person alternative halftime show. Do you know any details about that, producer Matt?
Is it supposed to be like Kid Rock or something? Like who's doing this? I have heard of it. Like
I saw that it was Turning Point USA, which the late Charlie Kirk's organization, which I think is now ran by his wife. I saw that they were putting on a halftime show. Now, admittedly, with everything that's been going on in the news lately, producer Matt, and the Epstein files and all the craziness with that, I don't know what's real. I just don't know what's real. I think I can have a good idea. I think this is something legitimate, that there's going to be some sort of alternative halftime show, and it's being, I believe, labeled, sold as, hey, if you don't want Spanish-speaking woke Bad Bunny, come on over to the real American halftime show. Is that sound right?
I mean, it sounds right for one. I don't know really what's worse. One, that they are publicizing it as that, which that just sounds bad in general with, I mean, all the political things going on in America right now. Two, I mean, Look, like I said, well, you've said it before. You're not too particularly excited for Bad Bunny. That's fine. That doesn't make you some screaming redneck or whatever. But like, the thing is, there have been halftime shows throughout the history of the Super Bowl that people did not care for or like were not super excited for. Like, you don't see them making 3 halftime shows for them. You don't see them like what this is the most pity halftime show thing I ever heard in my entire life. Like, we got a bunch of crybabies out there that don't want to you could just watch, just turn your TV off for a little bit. If you don't like it, just turn it off. Now we got to have I don't know what to say about it. If you want to watch it, go ahead, but I think it's dumb.
Yeah, it certainly is like I'm taking my halftime show and going home. It is a lot like that. So here we've done this before, but in 2025 it was Kendrick Lamar. 2024 it was Usher. 2023 it was Rihanna. 2022 it was Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and also Kendrick Lamar. 2021 it was theatrical production. Oh, The Weeknd. Okay, gotcha. That was during the 2020 was Shakira, Bad Bunny. 2019 was Maroon 5. 2018 Justin Timberlake. Coldplay was 2016, the last time that it was in San Francisco. Okay, so that's not the most diverse musical lineup in the world. Now, people just have to understand. I don't like that Bad Bunny is performing on Sunday, not because of anything political, just because I can't understand his songs. I can't understand the lyrics. That's the long and short of it. That's it. But I normally don't like the halftime performer, and I normally don't really care that much about it. And normally for me, it's a good time to go eat or check bets or make more bets or go do anything else, really. But if the party's watching it, I'm not going to go stand outside by myself. I've tried that before. It's not a lot of fun. So I'll watch it, and if I'm not entertained, why would I care? Why would I get worked up about it? Like, oh, all right, this halftime show wasn't for me. I didn't pick it. Like it's not. That's it. So I don't get the people that get too worked up about it one way or another. But admittedly, it's not the most diverse lineup. I mean, that's a lot of hip hop, rap, like pop. And then, the further you go back, it's a little bit more nostalgic, which is fine. But to do an alternative show, and I've got the details on it. So Turning Point USA is hosting an all-American halftime show as counter-programming. It's positioned as a patriotic event. The lineup includes Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, Gabby Barrett. And it's going to be live at 8 o'clock. And you just have to go to like the Turning Point's YouTube channel or some other channels that are going to be playing.
My only question about this, is there anybody in that lineup you're like, oh, I'm definitely watching that?
No.
It would be different if you didn't had like, this is the alternative one, and it was like major perform. Like the biggest performer on there is Kid Rock. When was the last time I heard a Kid Rock song? I think it was like 2007.
I mean, admittedly, I haven't been, but I've heard that Kid Rock concerts in person are some of the most fun concerts you can possibly go to. But that doesn't translate on TV. And it's just a bunch of country dudes. I thought for a second maybe Brantley Gilbert could be a girl, but after a quick Google search, certainly not. It's very much a man. So I'm kind of with, or I guess Gabby Barrett's probably a girl, right? Go get Gabby. Gotta be.
Probably.
But I'm not familiar. But the point is, I'm not familiar with them. So if you're going to do this, take my halftime show and go home sort of deal, you do need to make it good. And I don't know. This isn't the best lineup. Now, admittedly, do I think it's a little bit better than Bad Bunny? In just my opinion, yeah, because I can understand the songs. But Bad Bunny will be different. We'll see. I wonder if he'll make some huge political statement that'll get everybody all worked up. Probably told not to, but he's a bad boy musician, Bad Bunny musician. Who knows? So I'll be locked. I'm not going to be changing the channel unless it's just for comedy purposes to go check out Kid Rock on an alternative YouTube channel, Producer Matt. I'm locked in with Bad Bunny.
I said look, if people don't like it, that's fine. I'm not the biggest fan in the world, but my girlfriend is, so I'm succumbed to a lot of it. And I've been listening to a little bit more of it, getting ready for the halftime show, and I don't mind it. But I'm a big person, not even just with this possible situation. Let's take I think on this show, you, Peak, and I always talk about people on Twitter and doing like the rage bait, and then like, all the burner accounts just, looking for clicks and stuff. And then for me, I think the funniest part of it is when people react to that stuff. It's like, dude, you could just ignore it. That's how you win. It's just like when you were growing up as a kid. Like if you ever get bullied, just ignore them. You take the power away from them. This is the same situation. It's like, dude, if you don't like something, you just don't have to partake in. You can just turn it off. You can watch something else for the next 20 or so minutes. You can look at your phone. You can go talk to friends or whatever. So, like, I just feel like making a whole nother halftime show is extremely excessive and unnecessary. Like, can we really not survive 10 to 30 minutes of one of the biggest artists in the world? If you don't like it, just don't watch it. That's the biggest way to combat it. Just don't give it airtime.
It is a tough job for whoever is booking the halftime performer because you are not going to make the entire country happy with whatever you do. But I will say next year, they probably do need to go older. Like they probably just need to go like a rock star or just somebody that's going to give the 70 and 80-year-olds and you know what, even the 60-year-olds, even the John Spears of the world, give them one last hurrah. If we're gonna keep doing hip hop this frequently, you got to blend in like a rock artist every now and then. So I think next year would be a good year for that. But I can't stress enough how much I really don't care. And if I care a little bit by just talking about it on the radio show, then how little I care. Then maybe I care just in the smallest little bit just to talk about it on the radio show. But don't go anywhere because we will have our Super Bowl fun facts in hour number 2 once Stephen Peak joins the show, which is you're not gonna want to miss that. I'll tell you that much. A texter says, Peak, what do you hate more, injuries or uploading sources say to podcasts? All right, Peak, you take this one.
Wow, riveting answer, Peak.
I think his silence says everything, if you ask me. Is Peak having an issue with uploading sources say? Is that a thing? Is that happening? We'll have to ask him about that in hour number 2. Texter says the second LaFleur has hit the towers. I've been thinking about that meme for forever. At least he's not going to be well, whatever. He can't be. I cannot believe Green Bay brought back Matt LaFleur. Just can't believe it. Can't believe they did it. They extended him. I mean,
how long
extended him? I think it's 3 years, or maybe 4 years. And here's the crappy thing, is it seemed like we kind of got played by Matt LaFleur too. Is coaching? He had 1 year left on his deal, but that is a no-no in coaching, producer Matt. It's like, hey, you got to fire me or you got to extend me. I'm not coaching with a 1 year deal, which I've never really understood why. I feel like if I was a team, I'd be like, okay, if that's where you're at, then easy call, fire you. You like keep coaching and doing your best under the agreement that you signed on. There's 1 more year to that deal, but there's this taboo thought in sports, or at least in the NFL, maybe it goes everywhere, where when you have a 1 year deal, you either need to commit to me if you want me to commit to you. So if you want me to do well this year, if you want me to give it my all and try my best, you go ahead and extend me. But I'm not going into a 1 year deal not knowing what the future holds. And I can understand it a little bit more from like a player standpoint, which it's a different dynamic from a player standpoint because injuries can happen. And if I'm on a 1 year deal and you don't sign me and I'm not extended and I get hurt, well, then who's going to sign me? But from a coaching standpoint, coach the year, dude. And let's see, you've been relatively underwhelming, in my opinion, for Green Bay Packers football standards. You've been underwhelming. Now, you have been at the big kids table. You've been in the discussion. You've gone to the divisional round. You've been to an NFC championship game before now, which seems like ancient history. But coach your last damn year, and we'll figure out if you get an extension or not. But the worry from Green Bay was he may not try his best. Now he's going to try his best being extended. Now he knows that, hey, if I do bad, you got to pay me. You got to finish out the year. How bad? I'll be here for a few more years. You going to be okay with this? So I just hate it. I get super worked up thinking about it. Luckily, there's not football for a really long time, but I'll automatically go into the 2026 regular season with just like a little blemish, and that's not fair. Green Bay will be healthy, I assume. Micah Parsons may not be ready for the season opener, but that's fine with me if he wants to take his time coming back. But I'm automatically going to go into it, producer Matt. Just like, why did we keep this dude? Is finishing 7th in the NFC? Is that the prize? Is that what we're happy about?
I think what you guys should do is you should hire a patriotic side head coach for the halftime of the season. So like if you don't like Matt LaFleur, you have this head coach you could look at.
Ooh, I like it. Like a real, like the last chance you, or not the last chance you, the 2 days. Remember? Oh no, you're way too young for 2 days. That's sad. This is embarrassing. That guy, I guarantee I could guess how that guy votes. Go ahead and get him in Green Bay. That guy, I think, had like a second family, if I'm not mistaken. Which the wife and I were talking about that. To have a second family, that was a one income sort of deal. I think you can hardly afford one family these days. You're telling me there was people back in the day that had a secret family and at least to some degree were maybe financially depending on somebody. I think the secret double family life, while it has happened, I think it's very, very unlikely. I think that's just a TV made up. What is that noise?
Oh, is there a noise?
Like a little. Is that you tapping? You doing the tapping?
I was moving my leg. I guess you can hear my key. This thing's picking up everything.
Yeah. Well, anyways, the wife and I were talking about it just being way too expensive, way too hard to do, let alone the time aspect of it. You just have no chance at it whatsoever. Another texter on the Gameday Men's Health text line says, always been missing a lot of layups lately, but a lot of them have been tough angles, a step further out, etc. He did a really good job getting all the way to the rim on Saturday. And then that and one call late in the game gave UK, I don't know, there were several plays that felt like, all right, well, that may be it. But that and one was certainly one of them. I think it pushed the lead to 7 potentially. And it was a favorable call. Yeah, I don't think he was really hit hard or maybe even touched at all. But it was a really tough layup. And it's weird. It's almost like the easier ones, it seems like he just kind of yanks a bit. And then the tougher ones, the higher degree of difficulty, he has a higher chance of being able to make. I don't know if it's a mental thing for him. Mark Pope, we're going to take our first commercial break here in just a moment. But Mark Pope, he talked about Otega Oweh. And Oweh had an ankle injury that wasn't known or talked about, or maybe I missed it if it was, heading into the Arkansas game. He said he played last week a bit banged up. I don't know if that necessarily has anything to do with the layups, but 9 of 12 from the field on Saturday, that's good enough for me. And I think one of those misses maybe was a layup. One was a missed jump shot late, so that's certainly one. But no, he has had some inconsistencies finishing. Maybe I would say maybe confidence will improve that, but he's been steady and he's been consistent. He's been consistently missing layups. But there is certainly something to that. It seems like, at least in my opinion, the ones that are more challenging, he has a better chance of making. And then the ones that seem a bit easier, he's probably more likely to miss. But he made several. I mean, right off the top of my head, I can think of maybe 3 or 4 from that one very early on. Super fortunate. Ball just bounced right to him. Should have been a Kentucky turnover. It bounces right back into his hands, and he just puts it up and score. He had another one where Billy Richmond was all over him, and his timing was great. He went ahead and made that one as well. So Otega Oweh has been the preseason SEC Player of the Year, Otega Oweh, that we were expecting. And it does make me wonder how much maybe that preseason injury lingered and just never didn't let him kind of be the player he wanted to be, and now he's getting there. That was a theory I had until I heard Mark Pope say, no, actually last week he had a sprained ankle. He's been a little banged up. So I don't know. But Cats need him. You can't really afford that guy having a night off, can you? All right, we're going to take our first commercial break. We'll come back. We'll read more text. That's what we're doing in hour number 1. I also listened to the On 3 Will Stein interview. There were 3 things that jumped out to me about that. And what else was there? Several other things. We'll figure it all out. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. Roll Call Special Edition. TJ Walker and Nick Roush will be at Salsarita St. Matthews. Join us out there at noon for lunch and some Kentucky Roll Call. It will be warm inside. It'll feel good. You'll get some delicious, fresh Mexican food. Download that Salsaritas app. 3 locations in the Louisville area: Middletown, St. Matthews, and off I-65 in Shepherdsville. Salsaritas, it's fresh, and they want you to know that your Super Bowl, I guess your big game party, we'll cut that part out. Your big game party, and this is coming from the football party caterer king, the ruler, I should say. They can make it better. They can make it the best. Salsaritas wants to cater your big game party. You can do it all at the touch of your fingertips. At minimum, bring some chips and the Three Amigos, their guacamole, their queso, their hot spicy salsa. It's all great at Salsaritas. All right, producer Matt in studio, TJ Walker remote, and then Stephen Peak, I think, joining us from Lexington in hour number 2. I did say if you sent a text in hour number 1, we were going to read it on air. I want to talk a little bit more about the Pope Coaches Show, so I'll get to those texts here in just a moment. But did say that Owe was a bit banged up, said he'll be a full go and good to participate in the game tomorrow. And he also talked about, and he mentioned this after the Vandy beatdown, he said, we're just got to we're going to switch things up. We're going to change things up. The slow starts are too much. Now we just got some slow starts Kentucky had been able to survive and overcome. And then some other slow starts, it was just, they didn't respond. And obviously against Vanderbilt, that was exactly what happened. They had no answer. The game was over in the first 4 minutes. So Pope talked about, we're going to switch things up. He said it after the game against Vandy. He said it when previewing the Arkansas game. I think at that point he said that they had been switching things up and would continue to try some different things leading into the game. And then he was asked, all right, well, what did you switch up? What changed? And said that they're being more intense going into the game and into practices. And I thought that was interesting. More contact, faster pace early in practice, and then they altered their game prep where I think that they didn't they changed their shoot around. They were out on the floor a little less than normal. So I appreciate him just trying anything different, right? If the starts have been this bad and you have tried different lineup changes, and sometimes the lineup change actually works, but most of the time it doesn't really seem to matter which buttons you push for the start of the game. He just said, I'm going to try to start switching things up days before the game, and then a day before the game, and then the day of the game. Maybe it's not so much what I'm doing with the starting lineups or with rotations within the first 3 or 4 minutes. Maybe it's just an attitude or mindset leading up to the game. And I respect the hell out of that. Try things. Don't just keep letting the same thing happen and happen and happen. And maybe it was just a one-off at Arkansas. Maybe just the magnitude of that game and getting booed and a hostile road crowd on a Saturday night, it clicked for them a little different than it has at other points. We'll find out tomorrow, right? If it's a slow start against Oklahoma, you shouldn't have a slow start against Oklahoma. If it's a slow start on Saturday against Tennessee, okay, well, again, maybe just that Arkansas game, that's the outlier. But I appreciate Pope trying different things. And the more contact, I think, initially makes you a little nervous because we can't really afford any injuries, let alone injuries in practice. And Mark Pope added that that's exactly what happened yesterday. And I don't know, folks. I'm wrong about a lot, and I don't try to pretend otherwise. But this one, I don't know if it passed the smell test. Braden Hawthorne, who last week, when it was discussed about his red shirt, or maybe 2 weeks ago, he was a bit banged up. I think that was thrown into like a coach's show. Well, he's been banged up too. He's been hurt too. Because I remember Pete freaked out about it. Hey, he's banged up too. He's a red shirt. How unlucky is this? Well, Pope says that he's no longer hurt, but now he's hurt again because he sprained his ankle in practice again. But the red shirt could be taken off. It's not impossible, but it wouldn't be unless he's healthy, so they don't have to worry about it because he's not healthy. First off, they're not pulling the red shirt. They're only pulling the red shirt if like Otega Owe gets hurt and Denzel Aberdeen, and it's like, hey, Braden, you've got to go play, and secondly, you're going to get a bunch of shots too, so how about that? That's the only scenario where they're pulling the red shirt, is if it's like, hey, we just need you to probably put up like 5 shots per game, dude. Let's hope that doesn't happen, and I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't know. I don't think he's just flat out lying to us that he was injured in practice. I bet he was. But they're going to try to protect that red shirt. They're not going to burn that thing in February. And secondly, Peak seemed to allude to he was getting paid to red shirt. I just have a hard time believing that. I think whatever deal they signed was, hey, 1 year is going to be a red shirt, but you're staying at Kentucky and you're playing with UK, and this is the nil you're getting the second year, and we'd be open to negotiate, but you ain't going anywhere else. That's my guess what happened. But he's not going to be an option, and he probably shouldn't be an option, and I don't think it really changes the big picture of this team. Now, if there are more injuries, then I reserve the right to change my opinion on that. But he rolled his ankle. The season of injuries continues. He rolled his ankle in practice yesterday. But I like the idea of switching things up. The slow starts are just, they're not fun to watch, first and foremost, and they can cost you. A couple times, you played with fire and you're able to get away with it, but that Vandy game was a good reminder that some nights you just won't have it. And going back and rewatching the Arkansas game, I don't know if it should make you more frustrated or if it should make you more confident, or I don't know. It's up to you, I suppose. But it was all effort. They just looked like a determined team that was locked in and was not going to take any bleep from anybody. And they did not look anything like that against Vandy. And it's more than just shots not going in or not falling. We talked about it on Wednesday, 6 days ago, the morning after the beatdown. And we said, the offense in the first 3 minutes actually thought they ran some good stuff. They just couldn't score. And then it devolved. And then they just started taking contested shots, and there was little to no movement. And you could tell that they were just frustrated. And they weren't diving on the floor, and they were getting pushed around by Vanderbilt, who's one of the worst rebounding teams in the SEC. And then Vandy says after the game, yeah, we thought we could be physical with them. So then they go into the Arkansas game as the aggressor. And I'll tell you what, going back and watching that game, from the tip to the final horn, Arkansas played like a JV girls team. They were emotional. They were just super emotional throughout the entire game, whining to officials. And I know that, the UK players after the technicals were not happy, understandably so. But the Arkansas players were sometimes doing it to themselves. Sometimes they were throwing up hands and rolling eyes to their coaches. Anything that went well, they were flipping out and freaking out like they weren't totally expecting it to happen. But every made basket was just a celebration for them. And obviously, if you have a cool play or a big dunk or you take the lead after being down, yeah, I can understand that. There's situational basketball to be pumped up about. But then they just played dirty, really, from the jump. And I know what Owe was doing when they were walking in the way for the free throws. There's a little gamesmanship in that. But you ain't hurting anybody when that happens. You ain't pushing anybody when that happens. Because Owe walked in the lane, they wanted to fight. And there were about, 6 to 7 more times? DJ Wagner pushing Colin Chandler on an and one by Colin Chandler. That was just a soft baby you-know-what move by DJ Wagner. And it's a sign of a team that was more interested in just fighting than actually playing basketball, and that's a sign of a team that's a bit too emotional. But I thought Kentucky maybe made them that way by being the aggressors in, I don't want to have the holier-than-thou outlook from the game, but, hey, we're going to be aggressive in a basketball way. And Arkansas said, all right, well, we'll be aggressive because we want to fight you. Which Kentucky fans, right, we're familiar with that game plan from Arkansas. We've seen it. Long before John Calipari was the head hog. They always, you had some Malik Monk, that 2017 SEC championship game, the 2015 SEC championship game. You just have some games where Arkansas seems more interested in just fighting. And that's interesting to me because Calipari's the coach there, and that's what Saturday was. But the Cats were ready for it. So if you could be so checked out Tuesday at Vandy and then be so locked in Saturday in Fayetteville, I don't know. Feel free to text into the Game Day Men's Health text line 502-414-1450. Does that make you more optimistic, less optimistic? Is that bad coaching, good coaching? I can't quite put my finger on it. Vandy was a big game. That's a top 20 matchup on the road. It wasn't as raucous as a crowd as Arkansas was on a Saturday night, but how could you not get up for that game? How could you not be ready for that game? And then when Vandy punched you in the mouth, you had nothing. And I mentioned it yesterday. Down 4 after all those technicals and after you'd been winning the entire game and after you'd looked like you were the better team, that's the time to fold. That's the time to just let the game get away from you. And what the heck happened after those technicals? They instantly responded. And Arkansas had another punch for them. They responded. Arkansas maybe had one more punch for them. And then not only they responded, they countered, and then they got Arkansas back on their heels again before they knocked their ass out. More of that, please. But I don't know. I can't totally wrap my head around what happened Tuesday and what happened on Saturday. So maybe somebody smarter than me on the Game Day Men's Health text line can do just that. 502-414-1450. A texter says, gonna resend some stuff I sent yesterday that we didn't get to. Yeah, always feel free to do that. If there's a show we don't get to some stuff, feel free to send it on over. Another texter says, why hasn't DJ gotten better and why does it look like he's gotten smaller? I don't think DJ is making good decisions. Well, the thing you have to remember is go DJ, that's my DJ. And then secondly, yeah, I agree. I don't know. I feel like last year, that Arkansas team, once Boogie got hurt and it was John L. Davis and DJ, like he had something going there. And it seemed like he had some momentum. And I don't know. That's got to be frustrating for DJ Wagner to say, like, I'm a great player. I want to play for this coach because of my family ties. So I'll go to Kentucky and I'll play for him. Oh, he just so happens to have 2 guards that are better than me. Well, that stinks. He's played 3 guards before. I'll fit in where I can get in, which happens to be the starting lineup, which was wrong. But I actually think, and I've said this, I said that this season, or that during that season, last season, I'll say it for the rest of time. He served an important role on that Reed Shepherd and Dillingham team. Shepherd and Dillingham, they were great shooters. It was a fun team to watch, but they needed guards that could just get downhill and get inside, and Wagner could do that better than they could. Doesn't mean he needed to start, and doesn't mean that he needed to play as much, and certainly not more than those guys. But he deserved playing time. Nobody would argue that. And then he goes to Arkansas, and he probably thinks, okay, I'm a good player. I've got a lot of options. Oh, no, I'm behind 2 guards now that are better than me, Boogie Flan and John L. Davis. And he still plays a ton, and then Boogie gets hurt. And like I said, I think he really finds his rhythm. And then he comes back for a 3rd year of college basketball. And he's behind 2 guards, stop me if you've heard this before, that are better than him. And Darius Acuff's really good. Couldn't handle Otega-Oweh, though, that's for sure. Couldn't handle old Otegatron on Saturday night. That was great tape for Otega-Oweh, by the way. Offensively efficient. And again, he is kind of what he is offensively. It'd be great if that 3-point shot could really, really improve with a quicker release, but that's, again, probably what he is. And he's a solid shooter if he's open. But he's a downhill type dude that's going to go get to the rim and get fouled. But that defensive effort, he's all over him. I mean, there's a reason why Acuff doesn't have a good night and things don't come easy to him. And it's because Oweh had one of his probably better defensive, I don't know if I could name one off the top of my head, a better defensive performance. And it wasn't just him. At times, there was other people on him. Obviously, Brandon Garrison was quite literally over top of him. But yeah, DJ Wagner hasn't been probably the college career that he thought it would be. Another texter on the Gameday Men's Health text line said, I was disappointed with Jack on Friday when he presumed that Arkansas would be the more prepared team. We know Mark Pope can coach the game of basketball. Shame on Jack for that. Well, I'm going to get Jack's back. Going to get Jack's back here. A Jack back attack. Has Kentucky looked prepared at all this season? I just got done talking about the slow starts. Now, I know that we had some fun with Cal's staff when he was finishing things up at UK. And Kenny Payne, it was shocking to see him stand up one time. I didn't know that he was even allowed to do that, but one of the technicals, he actually stood up. Still haven't seen him talking. Still haven't actually seen him interacting with any of his players during a game. But he did at least stand up. That was cool to see. But they weren't known to be the best game preppers. At least that was the narrative. And I could be wrong, obviously. They won a lot of games. You have to be decent. Everything's overblown to a certain degree in the sports radio and message board and Twitter world. But we were led to believe when Mark Pope came in that this was going to be a staff that was going to outwork other coaching staffs with game prep, scouting, analytics. That was kind of the buzzword, right? And obviously this season, there's no evidence to support that's the case. Would I take this staff over Calipari's staff from a game prep standpoint? I still would, yes. Now, if you mix in recruiting, I don't, somebody, we put all this blame on Mark Pope, and rightfully so, because he's the head coach, but these assistants weren't brought in to not sign anybody. You didn't bring in 4 or 3 assistants just to be analytical dorks. I thought that was maybe just 1 or 2 and maybe a support staff and stuff like that. You needed to bring in some guys that could recruit, that were going to land some players. And they haven't. So while ultimately it does fall on the head coach, all of these assistants deserve a little bit of the blame, I would say. Anything that I've said that has stood out to you, producer Matt?
Not really. Like, you kind of been preaching to the choir for this past season. It's all stuff that I feel like we've heard a bunch of times. Like, the number one thing is, for me, Mark Pope just has these specific games where he just looks like a seriously, incredible NCAA tournament level-esque coach, where he can out prep the best teams in the country. He can tell that certain games he gets in the film room, it seems like he knows what the other team is going to do before they're even going to do it. And then there's other games where he comes out and it looks like they didn't watch film at all this week, and they just kind of they went through the whole Jaden Quainitz start from 1-on-1s to get to 5-on-5s by Friday kind of practices. And it's for me with Mark Pope, it's the inconsistency of figuring out not where the ceiling or the floor is, but where the average level is of, hey, our average level of basketball is going to be this week in and week out. Can we excel that week in and week out and get better and better? Or are we just going to continue to shoot ourselves in the foot? We're going to do one good thing and then 2 wrong things. And I feel like that's kind of where Kentucky's at with Mark Pope now, where it's you kind of gain this momentum. You have a really great either one game or a couple game span, and then you get faced with a little bit of adversity at the early in the game, and you shoot yourself in the foot, and you just kind of walk out. You just kind of mope around. And I feel like that's the biggest thing for me with this team is I feel like the emotions are either skyrocketing, they're really high, and they're leading them to have an advantage in the game, kind of getting under the skin of some other players. But then there's other games like the Vanderbilt game or like the Louisville game where your emotions maybe run too high and you get down yourself too early and you can't claw yourself back. I feel like this is a very emotional team, which is also a very emotional coach, so it makes sense. So I don't know. I feel like Mark Pope's best deal right now is to find that fine line of where's your average week in and week out, where I know that if we're not shooting the lights out or if we're not pounding the paint or we're looking like the strongest team out there, I know where our floor is every single time, and can we raise that floor week in and week out and improve? And I haven't seen enough to say they're consistent enough to do that yet.
I I'm so hesitant to do this because then they're gonna have a 1-1 or an 0-2 week or something like that. But I'm more after Saturday. They just looked so good. Like everything just seemed they had answers. They came out prepared. I thought they scouted Arkansas well. The matchups that they were good. You know, you didn't really miss on too much. I'm more likely after a performance like that to give Mark Pope a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and put a little bit of the blame maybe more on the players. Because again, I said in the moment and in the post-game show and the day after, the start against Vandy should have been better. Now, should they have been winning or, you know, whatever it may be, but they should have been down 11 at a blink of an eye, or 7, I think what it was maybe at the first TV timeout. It shouldn't have been that. It probably should have been tied. They were running some good offense. They just weren't scoring. And then it kind of went to crap. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it does all fall back on the head coach. But I do wonder, and I've got a little more evidence to support this, but I do wonder also if just all these injuries and these players having to go into scout and say, all right, well, you had been doing this, today you're doing this. I know that we had been playing you this way, but now we're actually going to move you around a little bit this way. I just wonder if 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old brain, if it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I can do that. Cool, sounds good. And when they're going through walkthrough, sure, I'm here, or now I'm over there. Okay, Cam Williams got hurt, now move me over there. I wonder if they think they get it, and then they get out there and they're like, oh, okay, actually, I don't get it as much as I thought. Basically, a short way, an easier way of saying these injuries are messing with them and these starts are what's hurting them. But another piece of evidence that I want to actually use to defend Mark Pope is they always look better in the second half. And that's been pretty much exclusive with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. I think part of that is they have the coaching staff directly in their ear. They're right there. They're talking to them. They can tell them, hey, you need to go baseline. Hey, come set a screen. That makes a lot of sense. That this team, as they're figuring out roles in the first half, they think they understand the scouting report, this, that, and the other. They get out there, and they don't. And they do have some leaders, obviously, but maybe not people that can totally take over the game. Ortega can, but it takes him a little bit of time to get going sometimes. And the coaching staff is far away, especially on a road game. They can't really communicate with them, so you get some contested, ugly jumpers. But then in the second half, when they're able to just be right there in their ear, things start to look a little bit better. So I do think that while at the end of the day, it's his program and this year should have been better, I do think injuries are a real thing with this team. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It definitively is. And I think sometimes the players just aren't really doing what they're supposed to be doing. Saturday's performance via the players actually kind of brought me back on this coaching staff. They can figure this out. They can get this ball rolling. And it's funny what can happen in one game in college basketball. A texter on the Gameday Men's Health text line says, maybe it was part of Kenny's contract with Louisville, still gets paid, but had to agree not to stand more than once per game and absolutely never speak to any players.
It was probably also part of his contract where he got paid. He wasn't allowed to coach.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel bad for him. He's there. He kind of looks like a puppet. He may move a little bit, but doesn't seem to add much to the table. I will say the video that's going around of, who was it? Was it Ewan? The airballed free throw? Just good, clean fun looking at Arkansas's bench. You had Cal looking like 2022 John Calipari and 2024 John Calipari. There's no doubt or denying that he looks better now at Arkansas than he did the last 5 years at UK. My dude looked like those Abraham Lincoln presidential photos of before and after. Well, obviously not like after, but like, after his first term. And he looked better. Arkansas was good for him. But after that airball, I'll retweet it. After that airball free throw, like his eyes, he gets cross-eyed. He's so confused and baffled and razzled by the whole thing. And the entire bench, Brad Calipari, I think, starts crying, which is just great stuff. I'll retweet it right here during this commercial break. Stephen Peake should be joining us here in hour number 2. Kentucky Roll Call rolls along after this.
With the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on the harp of the strum. Would you hear my voice come through?
This is Kentuckiana's only locally owned sports talk. The Big X, AM 1450 and 96.1 FM, WXVW Jeffersonville.
Hey there, New Albany.
pressure on you during the SEC weekend series, which are always highly anticipated and charged up. And I'm sure Kentucky Proud Park is going to be rocking and rolling for many series this year. I do miss the old baseball stadium. Kentucky Proud Park is much better, but I don't know if you have the same atmospheres.
Yeah, no, Kentucky Proud Park can get rocking as that late night Oregon State game back in 2024.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
That was really cool. Were you there? Were you at that game, TJ?
I was on a family. I was on a family vacation in northern Michigan, and my in-laws just hung out on the couch with me watching that game till the wee hours. It was a little bizarre, truthfully. They're not UK fans. They're not ones to really ever want to watch sports or really anything with me for that matter. And they just stayed on the couch till the bitter end. I think maybe one of them went to bed the half inning before, which I also thought was bizarre. Like, you're up this late. Well, what's an extra 30 minutes potentially? But no, I was not at that one. I wish I would have been. I'm sure that was a memory that folks that were in attendance will never forget.
Yeah, I certainly won't. And you talked about them losing games early in the season. I went back and looked. I forgot 2024. They started off the season. They started off 4-0, but then they got to that game versus Washington State. They blew that one. Once they got back into the top 25, I thought they blew another game too. Oh, Kennesaw State. That's right. They lost 2 of 3. They got beat 13-1, and on the Friday night game against Kennesaw State in Lexington. And then last year, I think they dropped a couple non-conference games early on as well. And the SEC, of course, in baseball, always going to be tough. I think last season they had a losing record, right, in conference play, and still were 2 wins away from going back to Omaha. Yeah, 13-17 last year in the SEC, 31-26 overall, and had they been able to pull off that win over West Virginia, I think they would have had to beat them one more time to get to the College World Series, and they lost that game 13-12. So very close to back-to-back. Oh no, that would have got them to the Super Regionals. My bad. They lost in the regionals. That's my fault. I gotta retrain my brain on how the college baseball.
Last year's Kentucky team, they could be up 8-0, and you'd be like, but hold on, a lot of baseball left. This 8-0 lead in the 7th inning, it's not a safe one. They could give up some leads. The offense was exciting, and they could get 6 runs in an inning like it was nothing. But they would. No lead was safe with that group last year. So hopefully that'll be a lot better this year. And yeah, last year. They were
up 12-7, TJ, in the bottom of the 8th last season in that regional final with West Virginia.
Yeah, that
and
sounds
lost 13-12.
Yeah, that sounds about right, and that certainly shouldn't happen. They were the 13th seed in the SEC baseball tournament, which is crazy to think. They'll need to be better this year, and I think they certainly will be with everything that they have returning. Hey, Peak, one texter wanted to know, what do you hate more, injuries or uploading sources say to podcasts?
It depends. If we record it in the car and I have to go in and edit down the video and extract the audio and then upload it, I'm going to say that one, it's a lot bit closer than you would think. I guess you saw Braden Hawthorne.
Yeah, I briefly touched on that. I'm not buying it.
Not buying it. I didn't get to hear the first hour of the show. Can you just reiterate real quick why you're not buying it?
Yeah, I don't doubt that maybe he slightly turned his ankle or something like that, but it's just all a bit too convenient to not just go ahead and rip that red shirt right on off. Kentucky's had a ton of injuries. Why not just go ahead and say he's going, whenever he's healthy, the red shirt is off. I declare bankruptcy. I declare his red shirt off. But I think they're just trying to protect his red shirt as much as they can. And I think that they're trying to leave the window slightly cracked in the case that Oweh were to get hurt or Aberdeen were to get hurt. And it's just we need another body that can score a little bit. So I think they're trying to keep the door ever slow, slightly open, but they're not burning the red shirt with the way it is right now. So he's also hurt. So why would we burn a red shirt for a guy who's hurt? And at some point, it's going to get to a point where it's February 21st. We're not going to burn it at this point of the time. So I don't know if I think that maybe he tweaked his ankle. I don't think he's actually all that hurt.
That's certainly possible. I just feel like, is Braden Hawthorne going to be at Kentucky for 5 years? I just don't see it happening. I mean, whether he goes to the NBA after
I disagree.
After 3 or 4.
I disagree with you. In the nil era, like, your eligibility now is worth more than it's ever been. Yes, Braden Hawthorne probably dreams of going to the NBA and probably dreams of going to the NBA sooner rather than later. But you get to a certain point where, all right, you get a year. Are you an NBA draft prospect? They kind of like you, but no, don't go. You're not ready yet. Okay, after year 2, are you an NBA draft prospect? You proved on some things, but they still don't really love you. But, after that second year, it's kind of like you are what you are. And that's not totally true. But from an NBA standpoint, they don't love drafting 23 or 22-year-olds. That's not their first priority when it comes to their favorite draft picks. So at that point, after a year or 2 years, Braden Hawthorne may say, I'm happy I saved that red shirt and didn't play a month because now I get to be a college player that averages, 11, 12 points per game. I can hit the transfer portal and get paid $800,000. Like, it actually is more valuable than it's ever been now, where previously I would agree with you. Back before nil was a thing, Braden Hawthorne, you're not going to be in college basketball for 4 years. What are you doing? Like, who cares? Just go ahead and get rid of it, and you can move on with your life. But now, now it could be beneficial. You're seeing people come back and pass up big money. You see people in the NFL pass up big money just because you can get paid in college now.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so you're not saying that Mark Pope and the coaching staff is trying to preserve his red shirt. You're saying that Braden Hawthorne and his people are trying to preserve it.
Yes, yeah. And I think if Braden Hawthorne and his people came to Mark Pope and they were like, hey, play me tomorrow, I don't know if Pope would be like, okay, you got it. But I think they'd be like, all right, we'll try to get you in. We've got a rotation, and we'll try to see if you can find some minutes here or there. If there's a big blowout, we'll put you in. I think the coaching staff would love it, like, as of today, because I do agree with you. I don't think the coaching staff is saying, like, all right, but don't we want Braden Hawthorne in 2029, in 2030? I don't think they're looking at it like that, but I think Braden Hawthorne and his camp have to be protective of that year of sweet, sweet cheddar.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. And, I had heard early on that that maybe at least Braden wasn't exactly thrilled with the idea of redshirting, because these guys, they want to go play, right? I mean, who wants to do all the practicing and then sit on the bench during the games? So, but that what you're saying though makes a lot more sense. That it's as far as like a business decision for him. If he's kind of a fringe NBA guy for a couple of years, you can always make a lot more money in college, even if that's not at Kentucky. So. And, I don't know. I don't know how much he would help this year's team. I think I watch him and shoot around every game. He can obviously shoot it when no one's guarding him. So that's good. See if that translates into the game. But it's after a big win like that, you almost don't even really care about things like burning red shirts and trying to get some guys some extra get guys who hadn't played all year some minutes in games that really matter. So I'm probably good with it at this point, unless somebody else goes down, and then maybe you pressure him into burning it. But I don't know. I mean, at that point, if you lose one more good player, what are you really even playing for at that point? So I guess we should just assume
he'll burn his red shirt, and then he'll end up being an unbelievable player. It'll be the Disney movie of the century. People will love it. No, I agree with you. I do think that they are trying to keep that option open if just there is this like worst case scenario, and maybe they'd even like say, hey, Braden, burn the red shirt, and we will pay you. We'll make it worth your while next year with your like nil deal or whatnot. But I do think that the coaching staff's keeping that open, but they don't also just want it to be like, yeah, he's in practice and he's doing well. He's he's really given our starters some trouble. Because then the obvious answer, or okay, then play him. Well, what are we doing here?
Right.
And he's like eligible. Then people are bringing in people that have been out of the league or out of college for 3 years, and you've got one that's totally eligible, no questions asked, play him. But I don't think he would help. I don't. I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time, so he probably could help in a big way. But I just don't think he would be a huge difference maker on February 3rd moving forward. But who knows? I am excited to see him next year. I mean, I hope he stays. I hope part of the nil deal was a 2-year sort of deal. 1 year you redshirt, the next year you come back. But we'll have to see. A texter on the Gameday Men's Health text line says, having Ewan shoot the first technical free throw is so Cal. I was so confused by that.
I didn't get it either.
Like, because Mo Diabate shot that technical for Kentucky, but was that because he was the player that was fouled?
Yes, and then Trent Noah
shot the technicals.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So Mo Diabate got fouled on it, yeah, shooting, and then right. So then Trent Noah stepped up and shot the technicals.
I
didn't get that.
I didn't get it either. And then that video that I retweeted, I finished hour 1 having fun with that video, which it is just such a great video. I actually saw it on TikTok first, and it had like so many views. The way that Cal looks at one of his assistants makes me, and just knowing Calipari for as long and following him for as long as I did, it makes me think an assistant told him to put Ewan at the line, or that Ewan told him like, hey, put me at the line. Like, I'm the guy who wants it. But
why would you listen? He's a 68% free throw shooter. 71% free throw shooter.
Because he's a player's coach, dude. He's a player's coach. He trusts his guys. If a guy looks at him and says, I got this, coach, he's a player's coach. You got to go with it. But that look he gives, it's not a look of like, I made a mistake. It's a look of like, which one of you dummies made him shoot that free throw? Which, again, you're the head coach ultimately. But, yeah, that was humiliating. And then, I don't know, I was going to go in on the TV broadcast when he airballed it, and they were like, well, it's harder than it looks. It's harder than it looks.
That's what they said? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, they were like, it's harder than it looks. You don't get to practice shooting a free throw in this setting in front of like 20,000 people. You can practice free throws all you want, but you can't ever really replicate this. And I was thinking to myself, like, that is such a load of crap. I understand missing a technical free throw. I understand missing a free throw. But you should never, under any circumstance, airball one of them, and especially not a technical. And I was like,
almost did it twice.
Yeah, no, he really did. I was about ready to crush him. And then on the radio broadcast on the way to the studio, I don't know who it was, whether it was like Mo or Trent, or they were shooting free throws. And he said, now, this is a tough situation. You don't really get to practice these free throws in 20,000. He said the exact same thing. And I was like,
no way.
I was like, all right, if my guy Goose is saying it, then there maybe actually is something to it. I still don't think you should airball one, okay? All right? I don't think you should airball a free throw as a D1 basketball player in any situation. However, I guess maybe there is something to it. Pressure can get to you. It is a bit of a weird situation.
Yeah, when you're shooting technicals and you're up there at the free throw line, no one's around you, and the spotlight is on you, I could see there's a little bit of pressure there. But, man, he really folded under that pressure, Ewan did. Because I thought he almost airballed the second one. When he let it go, I was like, oh, my gosh, could you imagine? And it's like, okay, there you go. Kentucky dodged a bullet. 30 seconds later, 2 more technicals. It's
I get the sense that Cal doesn't really like his team.
Oh, he said, I like my team. What are you talking about?
I know he has a quote that strictly contradicts that take, but I think he hates his bigs. I think he just is like loathsome of like Brazil and Ewan. Just like is not down with them whatsoever. And I think he likes his guards a bit, but I don't know. I think he likes tough-nosed guards. I think he has some of them, but I don't know if Malik Thomas and Acuff have the mental dog to them that he wants to see. Maybe Acuff, but I don't know.
Certainly him.
I just get the sense that Cal's not crazy about this team. Just one person's opinion.
That DJ Wagner will end up being like his biggest failure? Because when Cal gets a good guard, especially the number 1 player in the class, they usually shine under Cal's system. There's been very few that have come in and not done well enough that they're. I mean, how many times Alex Poythress? I'm trying to think of guys. He's not a guard, but guys who came in highly touted and had to stay for 4 years. I feel like DJ Wagner is going to end up being Cal's biggest disappointment.
Could be. And we talked about Wagner in hour one. You missed it a little bit, but I just mentioned it's a bit of a tough spot for him. He's always just had two guards better than him every year of his collegiate experience. That just every year there's two people that are just probably better fits or slightly better players than he is. And he's still made the most, but he seems like he's regressed this season. Not just the Kentucky game, but just doesn't look as interested as he had previously. So it is what it is. He's got another year of eligibility, though, and I don't think he's knocking down any NBA doors. So similar to the Braden Hawthorne situation, like I bet he's happy that he's got an extra year because he's going to use it. He'll probably go somewhere else. I don't think he'll stay at Arkansas. I don't know. Maybe he will.
That's what I was going to say. I would be.
How can you keep doing this, man? Like, are you going to be the guy next year? Is he going to give you the green light totally? I just can't expect that happening.
No, and TJ's gotten better. He was a 29% 3-point shooter his freshman year, improved it by 1.5 points the next year. Now he's up to 34.3, maybe a little bit lower volume, but his field goal percentage is up. But his minutes are way down. Obviously, last year they had the Boogie Flan injury, so he was playing a lot more. I think looking at the stats here, played nearly 35 minutes a game. Now he's back down to playing 23 minutes a game, and I just don't see how. Cal's going to recruit over him, so he's going to be maybe the backup point guard again next year, and it's pretty wild. When you land like I said, when Cal lands the number one player. They're gone after 1 year, and DJ showed some flashes of brilliance at Kentucky his freshman season, but it has definitely not been consistent. And I thought he played he was terrible on Saturday, and that's obviously the first time I've seen him in person, well, since last February. But he did not look very good, and I wonder too if. Like you said, if this is his last year playing for Calipari, if he's just got to give it a go with somebody else.
Absolutely. A texter says also, I was thinking about you during this text peak. Just go smoke a joint at halftime and listen to your own music. The last good halftime show was Prince. Any comments on that?
The last good halftime show being Prince. No, I think if you were gonna smoke up and watch a halftime show, that was the Snoop Dogg one from a couple years ago, right? That would have been the best time to do that. People are really getting upset about the Bad Bunny thing, and I'll be honest, if you asked me to name a Bad Bunny song, I couldn't do it. But I've just come to terms with the idea that these halftime shows are not for me. Like, they're not trying to figure out what even NFL fans want to see. They don't care. It's about making football the biggest sport in the world. Bad Bunny is a huge brand, and so they're going to get somebody who can maybe reel in several million new football fans. That's their goal. It's not to find the halftime entertainment that suits the fans who've been following all year long. So I don't know. I don't want to make this controversial, TJ, but I think that the halftime show isn't for us.
No, yeah, it's the sentiment of hour number one. We talked a little bit about it, and hope you all got your Super Bowl facts ready. We're going to get to that here in the final segment. A texter says, also, what is producer Matt's podcast called? I can't promise I'll listen to every episode, but I want to at least download it to help out the Roll Call fam. What was it called? Bad Bunny Puerto Rican Pride?
Yes, that's what it's called. Every single episode, I actually go through one Bad Bunny song, and we just listen to it over podcast. And then what I do is after the song's over, I play the instrumental, and then I read it in English. That's the whole podcast.
It's an amazing podcast. I would download every episode. No, but producer Matt, he is covering the Louisville Kings. It's a live radio show that goes to podcast for what it's worth every Thursday. But you also actually do have just different podcasts as well, separate from the Louisville Kings. So plug your stuff, producer Matt.
Yeah, like you said, every Thursday at 5:30, Roman, my best friend Grant, and I host the Three-man front, 5:30 on every Thursday night. It covers the UFL, covers the Louisville Kings. We're working on getting some pretty big names on there right now, so look out for that. But Grant and I also host the Upper Deck. We do that twice a week. That just covers sports in general. It's more Louisville-centered. I will be honest with you guys about that, so you're probably not interested in that. But we also cover the NBA, NFL, just whatever's going in, in the sports world at that moment. But I appreciate you for letting me do that.
All of that on the Matt Chambliss Podcast Network. I love it.
Yes, of course.
Everybody, we are going to tell you everything you need to know about tonight's Pro Bowl. That's right. The Pro Bowl's tonight.
I actually did not know that was. Is that true? It's actually tonight?
Shockingly, it is true. The Pro Bowl is tonight. We will come back, tell you everything you need to know about the Pro Bowl. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio.
Got my chips cashed in, keep trucking like the Doodah Man together. More or less in line, just keep trucking on.
Dalton Pence.
Getting Michael Brown Jr. back is going to be huge. You need Frew to be Frew against good teams. You need Khalifa
see, or well, if you didn't see, go to the YouTube stream to watch Kentucky Roll Call. But if you didn't get to catch all of today's episode, you can go to that YouTube stream or download the podcast anywhere you get your podcast. Just search for Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. Get those texts into the Gameday Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. Gameday Men's Health, redefining men's wellness. No shortcuts, just results. Testosterone, peptides, weight loss, sexual performance therapy. Go to GamedayMen'sHealth.com, defining a new era of men's health. All right, so the flag football game is tonight. We'll get to that here in a moment. We'll get to our Super Bowl fun facts here in a moment. But I do want to finish the text line. I told everybody that was going to text in. We were going to read it in hour number 1, so I want to follow through on that promise. John here, you know what, KRC? I'm feeling more energized today. Yesterday, I announced that I'm running for Indiana State Delegate for the Republican Party. So I'm looking forward to Election Day on May 5th, 2026. I am excited. I'm also excited. Okay, thank you. I'm also excited because I feel like the basketball Cats have possibly started to find their new path forward with the big win over the Razorbacks. However, what is the number of losses of the remainder of the season that could be too close to comfort in regards to putting us on the bubble? Well, got to go talk to you later. Well, good luck being an Indiana State delegate. Be ready for the tough questions, though, John. What are your takes on the Epstein files?
You know what? Go ahead, TJ.
Is he in the Epstein files?
Well, good question.
Is that disqualifying? I don't know that that's disqualifying anymore. But I would say that I was doing work for somebody who was running for a state, a state house seat, and it was in Fern Creek. And I went to their debate, and they were asking them all kinds of questions about national politics. And I'm like, what does this matter for? Do you think that they're going to be like, they're not voting on the spending bill?
Yeah.
Should we be focused on the things that are critical and crucial to this particular district? I don't know that it matters what they think of Trump or Obama's policies. I don't think that that's necessary. Anyway, good luck, John. John seems like a nice guy. Reading his text, he's always doing we'll got to go talk to you later at the end of his messages here on the Gameday Men's Health text line. And to answer his question, TJ, we talked about this. I was very pessimistic going into the Arkansas game. And so to John's point, there is something about that win that just has me energized. Like I've woke up the last couple days just excited about life. It's amazing what your basketball team can do for you as far as just how you feel in your day-to-day. It seems like it shouldn't have that big of an impact, TJ, but I've noticed,
Uh-oh. Peak, you muted yourself, buddy. You gave yourself the mute. Oh, no. Well, that's not good. Well, I'll answer John's question while we wait for Stephen Peak to unmute himself. In the meantime, producer Matt's cracking up. Are you back, Peak?
Are we back?
Yes, I can hear you again.
All right, there we go. Okay, so I was just saying that with that optimism comes a more optimistic outlook for how the season can go for Kentucky. And where at one point we were wondering if they could even win 3 more games between now and March 7th, I can now look at the schedule and see several more wins. And so I think that when worrying about the bubble right now, and as long as everybody stays healthy, I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. I think Kentucky's going to get in the tournament. I think they can still win 4 or 5 more games.
John, if they went 2-7 to finish the year, they would be on the bubble, and we'd be a little nervous on Selection Sunday. Anything but 2-7, and I think they'll be okay. If they went 3-6 and they were bounced in the first game of the SEC tournament, and there were a bunch of blowouts during that stretch, okay, that could be dicey there. But I think even if they went 3-6, assuming it was a competitive 3-6, I think that they still would be in. That would have them at 500 in the SEC. They're one of the toughest schedules in college basketball. that's where they're at. But I agree with Peak. We're looking at this thing totally differently. And A&M, they're going to go play Alabama, I think, on Wednesday. It may be tonight, but I think it's tomorrow night. And they're going to lose. And when they lose, Kentucky's going to be a game out of first place in the SEC. So we're in a kind of a different line of thinking, and I'm shocked that we're there after the radio show we did on Wednesday and even the one that we did on Friday. But that's what happens when you go and you beat a top 15 team on the road, and you look really good doing it. You can change some opinions around these parts. Our Weetabix texter texts in and says, longtime Packers fan since the mid-'50s because of Bay Pirelli and Paul Horning before Vince Lombardi. I agree about LaFleur. I don't understand why he's not fired, but the TV game announcers seem to think very highly of him. Ugh. And so do the media members. And again, normally when this happens, it's because they feel like they have access. Hey, he texts me back. Hey, if I ask about this player, he'll send me something. So many times it's as simple as that. Now, in some other areas, I don't get information from them, but they've always just been nice to me, so I'm going to be nice to them when I can. You get some of that. But just talking about it from an outsider's perspective, I guess I'm maybe not an outsider because I am a Packers fan, he just gets the 7 seed. That's all we're doing. We're not winning the North. We're not winning playoff games. We beat the Cowboys, which was cool. He wasted Aaron Rodgers without getting him to a Super Bowl. And Jordan Love, he's not getting any younger. He's got 10 more years of high level playing football, so it's not like the clock is ticking, but it's kind of ticking. So what are we doing? We're wasting him. The Bears have won the North. The Lions have won the North. The Vikings have finished above the Packers in the last few seasons. He's just not the dude. He just doesn't have the chops, unfortunately. All right, let's see. Do we have any more texts? I think we've got a couple more. Texter says, I feel better about the team after Saturday, but it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if it's a tie game with 4 minutes left tomorrow. Last place team in the SEC. I'm with you. Like, nothing really surprises me with this team. And Oklahoma, on paper, should be better than certainly last place in the SEC with a 1-8 SEC record. But Nigel Pack, he's been playing college basketball for forever. There's some familiar names from last year, and obviously that Oklahoma team last year gave Kentucky everything they could handle in 2 games. But this is a home game with momentum. You can't afford to lose it. Just take care of business. And I don't want it to be a game with 4 minutes to play, and I don't want Kentucky to narrowly escape it. What do you think the spread's going to be? It may already be out. 11 is kind of what I'm thinking. 9.5.
I was thinking it might be just shy of double digits. So yeah, at 9.5, that's probably a good place to, or 8.5 to 9.5, probably fair to guess within that range. And yeah, I totally agree with the texter here because this team is impossible to predict. If you tell me they're down by 10 at halftime tomorrow, I mean, would either of us be completely shocked? We'd be disappointed, but surprised? Probably not. And then, TJ, there's a possibility, there's a world where they lose this game and then beat Tennessee again. It's just, they're impossible to predict at this point. They're so strange. You can't figure them out. And, I guess if it's not going to be, you want them to be consistent, but then, if it's going to be inconsistent and they're still going to rattle off several good wins, I guess I'll take that at this point. But, yeah, anything can happen tomorrow.
Would you take that, an upset loss tomorrow, but you beat Tennessee comfortably on Saturday? You could push that button right now. You pushing it?
Oof, man, how bad is that quad 3 loss what's that going to do to your resume, though? That's that wouldn't help. Of course, you gain a quad 1. Man, that's actually a tough one, TJ. I don't know. I thought when you started that, I was like, I'll definitely take it if you offered it me now to sweep Tennessee again. But I don't know. Like, I don't want any quad 3 blemishes on the record.
I'll answer on your behalf. No, you got to go 2-0 this week. You got to go 2-0 this week.
Okay.
1-1 doesn't get it done. You can't, like, a loss to Oklahoma, even if you followed it up with a Tennessee win, which would be very Mark Pope and very Kentucky. You can't do it. These are 2 home games. You got to take care of business at home. Oklahoma is the last place team in the SEC. They have won 1 SEC game, and they've been mostly competitive. they have a couple blowout losses, but for the most part, they are in games, and I won't be shocked if they are in the game tomorrow. Actually, I'd say it's more likely that they are in the game than Kentucky just completely blows them out where the final 8 minutes are a snoozer or a laugher or anything like that. I expect this to be a somewhat difficult game. You just have to win it. Don't care how you do it, just got to win it. And then Tennessee on Saturday, there'd be no shame in losing to the Vols. Obviously, they're talented. They're going to be a tournament team with expectations to make the second weekend. Obviously not the third weekend because, as I said, it is Tennessee. But you already beat them. And you're doing the 96 team, and you're doing the denim jerseys, and you need to win that game. You need to win it. So while it's not the end of the world, if you were to drop Saturday, there is no excuse for tomorrow. There's just none. You have to win that game against Oklahoma. They're the last place team in the SEC. And then similar to what Tuesday against Vandy last week, a week ago tonight, I thought that could break the team. They looked broken. They looked like they'd given up. And I was worried that, like, all right, I don't know. That's why I was so low going into the Arkansas game. I do worry that if they have another big setback, like, which setback could they let go of the rope? And I don't want that to happen, obviously. Right. I don't. Now, maybe Saturday was their way of saying, like, we will not let go of the rope. Even if things get bad again, even if we get another injury, we're still going to be in a game here or there. We're still going to surprise you every now and then. But what about just a little consistency? If you go 2-0 this week and you are at that point 8-3 in the SEC, you're ranked in the top 25. I don't care what these dumb voters think. You're going to be in the top 25.
They will be.
If you have a 2-0 week. And while this season, again, we can't say it enough, a million times over, hasn't been the season that we thought it had been, to suffer all the losses you've had, to have the downs and the lows that you've had, for it to be early March and you to be in the top 25, the most injured that you've been, that would be impressive. There would be something that you can respect the hell out of this team if they're able to go 2-0 this week and be in the spot that they're in. And then we'd have a week before that Florida game, which would be a fun week, Peak. It'd be almost a house money game. You got to go 2-0 this week. You've almost earned it. Like just do it. You need to go out and do it. These are two teams you can beat. Two teams you should beat.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like as you mentioned, you go 2-0. You're 8-3. Texas A&M is going to go up against at Alabama tomorrow. Then they'll play Florida. That could easily be 2 losses right there, putting them at what would that put A&M at? So that would put them at 7-3.
Yeah, I'm not worried about A&M.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if Florida, for Florida, it's a tough game too, going at Texas A&M.
Yeah,
you could come out of this. You could go into next week during your off week, tied for first in the SEC, with 7 games left. We haven't won the SEC regular season title since COVID shut everything down. And we really haven't. I mean, they finished second in 2024, but they never were really in the hunt for it. So you haven't even really been there to win it. And so, yeah, I mean, look, I think I thought about this yesterday. This team and Mark Pope deserve a lot of credit for bouncing back. Like you said, it felt like that was a let go of the rope kind of performance at Vanderbilt, and I thought things were going to just completely fall apart. So this is not the season that we wanted. I'm disappointed in that regard, but for just keeping this train on the tracks right now, I got to give Pope and his staff and this team a lot of credit.
I'm right there with you. And it's time to give you Super Bowl fun facts. We got Super Bowl 60, according to producer Matt, on Sunday, if you can believe them or not. It's the Seahawks. It's the Patriots. It's fun facts with Kentucky Roll Call. Take it away, producer Matt.
So my Patriots Super Bowl fact for the week is actually they have 6 Super Bowl wins in 5 of them. So that's 2002, 2004, 2005, 2015, 17, and 25. The only one this doesn't account for is 19. Punxsutawney Phil has seen his shadow in all of these years. Punxsutawney Phil yesterday saw his shadow, so we got about a 6 out of 7 chance the Patriots win the Super Bowl this Sunday.
Wow, how about that? Very interesting. That is a Super
That
Bowl
is
fun
wild.
fact. I did see Stephen Peak that Kentucky basketball has never won a national championship when Puxatawny Phil predicts an early spring. Isn't that interesting?
That is
He's-
interesting.
he's
So
been
we might win the title
prognosticating-
this year.
He's been prognosticating since 1890. And another fun fact, he's actually never predicted a Tennessee Final Four, and he's 100% on that prediction. 100%. He's never missed one. But oddly
wild.
enough, every UK national championship basketball year has come when he has predicted a longer winter. So that is factually true and interesting. He predicted a early spring in 11 and 13, but sandwiched between those was a longer winter, and the Cats won in 2012 most recently. My Super Bowl fun fact for you is Super Bowl Sunday is the second biggest food consumption day of the year. Can you boys answer what the first biggest food consumption day of the year is?
Thanksgiving.
Any guess, producer Matt?
I mean, if it's not Thanksgiving, I'll be extremely surprised.
It is Thanksgiving. No trick question here. Super Bowl Sunday is the second biggest food consumption day of the year, right behind Thanksgiving. We chow down on around 30 million pounds of snacks alone, plus enough beer to fill an Olympic pool nearly 2,000 times. Wow.
Wow. 2,000 Olympic pools.
That's a lot of beer. A lot
I
of
can't
beer.
really even visualize that in my head as how much liquid that would be. I'm trying.
You know, like one beer would just look, I mean, you would hardly even recognize it in the pool. You'd have to probably have 100 beers to even notice a puddle in an Olympic-sized pool. So I don't know. Maybe I would have actually thought that would be more, but how do they know that to begin with? But yes, it's the second biggest food day of the year, this Super Bowl Sunday, just behind Thanksgiving. I wonder what the other biggest food days of the year.
I mean, Christmas has got to be up there, right?
You think 4th of July, the barbecue, stuff like that?
4th of July. What about like Fat Tuesday? Is that big? I don't know. That might just be one.
Christmas
denomination.
Day is number 3. And then other notable high consumption days are Christmas Eve, St. Patrick's Day, Easter, Halloween, 4th of July, and Valentine's Day. Emotional eating, chocolate dinners, and some emotional overeating included on Valentine's Day, says this little article.
Interesting. Well, I have a little quiz for you guys as well.
Okay.
19 of the 20 most watched broadcasts in America are Super Bowls. 19 of 20. The most watched would have been last year's, which had 127 million viewers, average viewers. Do you know what the program was that was not a Super Bowl, but also one of the top 20 most watched telecasts in America?
I think I do know. Producer Matt, do you have any idea? I think I've heard this question before. I could be wrong.
Once I saw the answer, I was like, I've heard this. So 19 of the 20 most watched telecasts in America are Super Bowls. Can you name the one non-Super Bowl telecast with top 20 viewership? It had 105 million viewers.
I have no
Do
idea.
you want me to give the date? Would that help?
Sure, you can try.
Or TJ, did you want to go ahead and guess?
I've got the guess. I guess if the date is way off, I could theoretically change my guess. But I'll admit, if you can give the year, I probably won't change my guess. And if I do, I'll tell you.
All right, 1983. It was on February 28th, 1983.
Yeah, I feel good about my guess.
Matt?
I have no idea. So TJ, you can go ahead.
Was it
Yeah,
the
I think I
MASH?
get it.
Was it the MASH season?
Boom!
Okay. Yeah, I think I've seen
Yes.
it.
Goodbye, farewell, and amen. Yes, the final episode. That blows my mind. I guess I just didn't know how big of a show that was. I've seen a few episodes, but I mean, it was on the air from 1972 until that February 28th of 1983. I did not really. I mean, should I give this show a real shot? Because I never did.
No.
But apparently, I mean, it's the. No. Okay. All right.
No. I mean, how would that hold up in today's? I can't imagine MASH holds up well.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I never really got it. Never watched it. I think I've seen an episode or two when it was just on in the background, but never really like sat down and watched it.
I need to ask my parents.
Yeah, that's the 12th.
That the 12th most watched ever?
Yes.
Yeah, I need to ask my parents about that. Can you imagine like that the pop culture that the day that was premiering? Probably everybody around the store was talking about it. Everybody around the city was probably talking about it. Wild stuff. We'll have more Super Bowl fun facts for you tomorrow. We'll preview the Cats versus the Sooners. This is Kentucky Roll Call. Thanks for listening. Thanks for texting in. We'll see you on a Wednesday edition of KRC on the Big X.
Yeah, we stand tall, Kentucky morning.
The Big X, AM 1450 and 96.1 FM, WXVW Jefferson.